I'm here with Geof Heydon. Geof is the Business Development Manager at CSIRO's Australian Centre for Broadband Innovation, and this is the second time you've been here with us, Geof, so welcome back to Armidale.
It's great to be here, as always.
Just a few questions for you. Can you just outline what the digital economy really means to business?
A big question. The digital economy is really changing almost everything that we understand about business. And it's really just a recognition that underneath almost every business sector now, there's a lot of ICT infrastructure enabling a lot of different things, and that's even becoming more and more and more influential. So if you take any sector, agriculture, mining, health, education, many dimensions of those things are already being delivered with underlying access to the internet and access to networking and cloud-based services and all manner of different things. But I think that the real test of the digital economy over time is when we actually stop doing things what might be described as the old or traditional way in favour of an entirely online model. And that implies that government services start to get delivered to people who have devices on networks rather than via shop fronts and people. And that's a pretty profound change. So we will see that very broadly across all manner of different sectors. But then, let's think about agriculture as well. When we start to gather data from a farm and then from many farms, and then we can start to build up a whole ecosystem of information that is derived from the entire population rather than just a single farm, then we can predict weather patterns better, we can predict farming and agricultural improvements better, we can know how to feed animals more accurately, we can know how to help animals coexist with native animals better, we can change crop designs and things. All manner of things can be changed when we have digital information and we can learn how to analyse it more effectively. So it's a really profound change in every sector, and I don't even think we can guess many of those changes yet.
Yeah. You spoke this morning in the workshop about the other big change for business is that there are these distinct differences between generations, that we almost have to look at, business has to look at the way that it's sort of delivering to these different generations, and that's another way of looking at a new business model. Can you just expand a little bit more about that, sort of the different generations?
Well, yeah. First of all, we have to kind of recognise that at any given moment, there's really three generations of people employed in the marketplace. There's those of us who are old and are baby boomers, and then there's the Gen X's and the Gen Y's, and we in fact are already seeing that the youngest generation is making up about 30% of the workforce, and they're the digital natives. They're the current younger generation entering the workforce, and already are a third of the workforce almost, are the ones who have grown up with all of these technologies. Now, one of the really interesting aspects of this is if you go to my generation, the baby boomer generation, every technology that we embraced as consumers actually was designed for other purposes. It was designed for business reasons. The television screens were designed for business sorts of applications to begin with no expectation of mass market delivery. Radio was designed for defence and military type applications, and yet it found its way gradually as electronics got cheaper and cheaper into the mass market. Even vinyl records were designed to record important speeches from kings rather than for recording music for the population. So all of these earlier technologies, they all were really designed and then eventually developed into a scale that was suitable for the mass market. And so we were all the beneficiaries of those things, often derived from investment in the war times, in fact. But the younger generation now, what we call the millennial generation, they are the ones who are actually learning how to use social networking tools for consumer use and then taking that experience to business. So it's really, I think, the first time in history where a consumer behaviour and a consumer technology, if you like, has transitioned from the consumer market into business. And now that third of the workforce brings that native set of tools with them into their work environments. And that's pretty disruptive. IT departments all over the world are starting to grapple with how do we enable a group of people into our workforce who are bringing their own devices with them, they're bringing their social networks with them, they're bringing their way of solving problems with them. and those are very social ways of solving problems. Their communities are the crowdsourced community problem solvers, and they operate that way. We can't expect that they will work into a workforce like a baby boomer did and say, here you are, you're an executive now, you can have a mobile phone and a computer and all of these wonderful things that the company provides you. That model is almost gone now. The idea that you have to have those tools to even function as a junior employee. And a 20-year-old starting a new career brings all of that technology with them, probably better than the ones that the corporate budget is providing.
And if you don't let them bring it, they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, and they are voting with their feet. And what's more, if you block them from using the tools inside corporate networks, which often is the way, many corporate networks block things like Facebook. If you do that, it's tantamount to chopping off one of their limbs. You know, you're preventing them from behaving the way that they would behave to solve problems. And in fact, there's lots of great data now available to show that crowdsourced solutions to even IT problems are happening more efficiently than IT departments can deliver it through just social networking.
Sure.
So there's really quite a different set of behaviours, and I think it really highlights that, you know, within 5 years that third of the workforce is really becoming about half of the workforce, and you know, another decade and it's absolutely a dominant part of the workforce. So we had better learn how to leverage that, because if we don't, we'll be preventing most of the innovation, in fact, that will be derived from that set of behaviours, learnt well before they even enter the workforce. And goodness knows what the next generation will bring with them. So I think what we've got to recognise is that when we are thinking about delivering digital economy-based services to the market, the way we deliver them to those different generations, and there's always sort of 3 active generations in the marketplace, we have to deliver services that are designed to target those 3 different markets in quite different, distinct ways. You know, the way I'm interested in having a music collection is very, very different to the way those millennial folks are interested in music collections. They are now interested in cloud-based music, and the tangible asset is of no value to them at all. But I still enjoy having a tangible asset to point at. I'm trying to force myself to learn a new model, but it's intrinsic in the way you brought up. You know, that having a tangible asset is something that I can see on a shelf and enjoy. I've transitioned my books now to an online environment, but I still like to have a lot of DVDs at least on a shelf so I can select them, but not music. I think I've transitioned music now. But the millennials see no other option. In fact, giving them something as ridiculous as a CD or a DVD is just plain foolish. The thing that they value now is an iTunes voucher or the equivalent, because then they can source for the money that they're willing to spend. There's no shortage of money to spend, but they'll spend it in a different way, and the tangible asset isn't the way they'll spend it.
Jeff, just final question, and we ask all our visiting speakers this. What's your message, your personal message to Armidale businesses?
Oh, it's not too different to the message to everybody in Australia right now. The NBN and the promise of the NBN to all Australians is a big deal, because for the first time we'll have ubiquitous connectivity for everybody. Now that doesn't matter to any individual, but what it matters is to the business models of services that want to be delivered to the marketplace. When everybody is truly able to be connected, business models will emerge that are as far-reaching as the business models that sit on top of the road infrastructure. There are thousands of business models that sit on top of the roads, and we don't even think about the value proposition of having the roads. They're there, we leverage them, and there are lots and lots of innovations going on based on them. The same thing will apply with the connectivity of networks, when everybody is literally able to get onto the same network environments in a consistent way. So the sorts of business models that we will see will be a really interesting blend of local value, and the innovation locally will be key to local success, of course, but that translates into opportunities and threats. The idea that you can deliver a local service in an interesting way to the world, you know, nationally and internationally over time, is very exciting. But with that comes the threat that so can everybody else do to you that in return. So leveraging that ubiquitous infrastructure in ways that we can only dream of so far, that will happen. Innovations will come up anywhere and everywhere. The trick will be to leverage them in a way that allow you to deliver the services you want to deliver to anybody, anywhere. And sometimes that might be rich local culture, or it might be some unique piece of capability that exists here, or a unique landmark, or a unique a growing environment or a unique community-based idea that resonates. Who knows what that will be? I mean, I'm a telecommunications person by nature, and I'm interested in building and understanding the networks and things, but really that's as boring as the bitumen on a road. What we need to do is ask the people in every other industry what they can do with it once they start to recognise that it's there and available to use. And I think that that creates an enormous opportunity for early areas like Armidale, because some of those innovations will surely emerge here earlier than other places. And that means an export opportunity to a national market and an international market, as well as the opportunity to develop a vibrant community of innovation locally. I think that's a really exciting opportunity.
Great, fantastic. Thanks a lot, Geoff Heydon.
It's a pleasure.